Okay, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to the October 11th, 2022 Hainsport Township meeting. And this meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of October 11th, 2022, with instructions for internet access, was included in a meeting notice sent to the Burlington County Times and Courier Post on January 6th, 2022, and advertised in said newspapers on January 9th, 2022, and January 12th, 2022, and respectfully posted on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building on January 6th, 2022, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file with the office of the municipal clerk. So the first order of business will be a flag salute. Please stand. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor McLaughlin.
Here?
Mr. Klaus.
Here.
Mr. Levinson.
Here.
Mrs. Gilmore. Here. Mr. Montgomery.
Here. We have the regular committee meeting minutes of September 13th and the executive session minutes of September 13th.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Levinson.
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore.
Yes.
Mr. Klaus.
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery.
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin.
Yes. In the report section, we have the tax collector, code enforcement, fire official, construction office, emergency services, and the, well, New Jersey State Police will be in person, but we have those reports to receive and file.
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Gilmore.
Yes.
Mr. Klaus.
Yes.
Mr. Levinson.
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery.
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin.
Yes. Sergeant Antonucci, would you like to come up and fill us in on what's going on in town? From your perspective?
Good evening, everyone. Nothing major to report, just a general reminder throughout the state with the vehicle theft and burglaries are on the rise. We want to remind residents that let's not give the criminals an opportunity. These are crimes of opportunity right now. Just a continued reminder, please lock your cars and secure any valuables such as purses, laptops out of view. Never leave your keys or key fobs in the vehicle. Do not leave your vehicle running while unattended. Park your car in well-lit areas. Ensure all windows are closed and make sure all doors are locked. Also, if anyone sees any suspicious individuals walking around, looking into cars, please contact us so we can respond and investigate. Also, another thing that helps us out with investigations in the Detective Bureau is the Ring doorbells. If residents have a Ring doorbell, please make sure it's operational. We've had instances where incidents have happened outside of someone's residence, and they were unable to retrieve surveillance video because the camera was dead. And then the catalytic converters are still going on. We make arrests, but there's numerous theft rings out there, so just be aware of that. And our troopers are conducting patrols and property checks in various areas of the town. And we've also, in terms of community policing, we've been to several events, trunk or treat, and the next events will be at the first responder and the Veterans Appreciation event. And Trooper Neely, she's been assisting our school resource officer, Trooper McNair. He's right now training a probationary trooper, so his duty, he can't be at schools every day, so she's been filling in. And if there are any non-emergent issues or concerns within Hainsport Township, you can advise Paula, and she'll notify me. Any emergencies or when reporting crime, always call 911. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming up.
Thanks.
So, Ken Montgomery is the committee's representative to the Hainesport School. He also serves on the Hainesport Education Foundation. And Ken came to the committee and said school could use a new gym floor. It's been there, was it original, the floor? And we had the pleasure of coming to some back-to-school nights a couple weeks ago, and I personally was able to see it for the first time. It's beautiful. And we were graciously received by the school board, Jason and Jody. And now we're receiving you here to do the ceremonious check. So come on up. Would you like to say something, Jason? And I apologize. I don't know the.
Right.
Who? Bob Kraft. I'm sorry, Bob. I should know your name. Apologize.
Rob.
State your name, your no. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Joseph Korn, Superintendent of Schools, and I just want to take this moment to be very humbled, gracious for the benevolence, the generosity of the Township Committee. The floor was original in 1998. Lots changed since 1998, a lot of wear and tear over the years, and it's really, really looks great. State of the art, will last many, many decades. As Ken had said at the back-to-school night event, that particular venue is a space that's used by the entire community. A lot of our graduates come back there for events in the gymnasium specifically. Our students use it on a daily basis in the phys ed world, as well as our athletics. So it's a really nice gesture and a really nice item that we're very grateful to this committee for coming to us to do this. So thank you very much. I'll let Board President Jason Cardonic say a few words.
Just on behalf of the Board of Education and all of the members of this township, we always say that great schools make great communities, and our partnership with the township has been tremendous since the day I've moved here, and I'm sure a long time before there. We're incredibly grateful for your support, everyone on here on this board, as well as the community. This is a great item, and it's going to last the school a long time, and I know the kids are really excited about it. So on behalf of the entire Board of Ed and everyone that we represent, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated.
Want to say something, Bob? So I'd ask the committee to come down for a photo op, and can I lift this check?
I don't know, it's too heavy. It's a heavy one.
I better carry it.
Two hands?
100,000.
That's a big check.
Big enough?
Find another way to deposit.
Terry, get up. Can you hold the other side for me, bud?
I'm going to quote Superintendent Korn by calling this the Bob Barker Monty Hall.
Yes.
Sure. Come on in.
Yeah. No problem.
We let exercise the real one.
Yeah, this is lovely.
Real check. Oh, because it's a real, you get the real one. All right.
You can see Bruce.
Maybe I should lower it so Bruce is going to visit.
Listen, I understand these.
I can get mine.
I can't smile.
We make it up with our personalities. All right. One more.
Thank you very much.
You know what?
The real checks in the back.
So Ken put some time in to do all this work with the Education Foundation and the board. I'm gonna let you.
Cool.
What you do. So we're gonna get out of the way here.
So I'm going to just put this like this because we have a board president and a superintendent. And the
We're going to let the BA take it.
and the administrator. So, yes. Spend it all in one place. Already done. Already done. Absolutely, thanks. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. You know,
Leela.
great team. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you.
Okay.
Volleyball game after this meeting, right? Jim, right?
Yeah, Bill out.
There you go.
Get the ad bill out.
Thank you, that was good.
I'm gonna put that in the middle.
Again, it's, the rank and file population may think that the township runs the schools. And we don't. We never did. But as long as I've been on the committee, and I know this committee especially supports the schools in a very robust manner. And this was an item that with constrained budgets, the school probably wouldn't have necessarily been able to come up with the funds to do that. So because of the way that this committee and our administrator administers the business of our town, we had, and it was a $100,000 gift to the school. And I hope that we're able to continue doing that and buying things that the school would not necessarily be able to do with their budget, their tight budgets that they have to operate under. So I'm very proud that the committee, Ken, again, good job getting that done, so.
Yeah, and just to further emphasize, is this is money above and beyond, above and beyond the school budget that was allocated. I mean, there's only so much that the school has to spend, so this was something we were able to do sooner than later for the school. And I meet, as a part of the Hainesport Education Foundation, I meet with the administration there every year, just looking for items and things we can do. And we find some big things and some smaller things and whatever, and this really seemed like something that really was good for the whole community, as Joe Korn said, so, yes.
Yep, good, okay, so we're going to have comments from the public on items that are on tonight's agenda only, please. You'll have more than ample time to comment on anything you wish a little later in the meeting. So would anybody like to comment on tonight's agenda? Anybody online?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll close that. Get into the business portion of the meeting. So, Resolution 2022-136-10 is something that's done every year around this time. And we put out requests for qualifications for professional services from attorneys, engineers, planners. There's a whole list of positions that and vendors that we look to fill. So, committee, what's your pleasure on Resolution 2022-136?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes. Next is Resolution 2022-137-10. This authorizes specifications and solicitation of bids for Pulaski Avenue, Iowa to Lumberton Road, Laurel Ridge Road, Craig Drive to Route 38 East, and Fenimore Road, Arc Road to Town Line for resurfacing, which we have pretty much been doing just about every year.
I have a question on that. Is Town Line just where our boundary is? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
we own,
That's what I thought.
what is it, about a half a mile, Paul?
Fenimore Road?
Of Arc Road.
Arc Road.
Arc Road, yes,
Yeah.
0.6.
The rest is a
Point
county
six,
road.
yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes, this Resolution 2022-138-10 authorizes resubmission of amended grant application for the Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund/Public Entity Program for the HITCO redevelopment site at Creek Road and Route 38, which has been going on for at least 20 years. We've been working on cleaning that up.
I'll make a motion. Can we move with that?
I'll second.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes. The last resolution tonight authorizes the appointment of a part-time employee in the Tax Finance Office.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes. And we have a few business licenses to approve tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the business license.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes. And now we're to comments from the public on anything you'd like to talk about. Yes, Anna, come on up.
Anna Evans, 63 Parry Drive. As you know, I've already asked a couple of times at these meetings for the committee to put all of the development that is currently going on around town onto one aerial map of the town so that we could all see all of the areas, identify them, and understand just how much development is going on. But you haven't done it. So I prepared a little visual aid where I put together two of the redevelopment plans that you guys have authorized.
Thank you.
Just so everyone could see how close they really are. And here's the thing, guys. That big squarish warehouse that's currently going up is exactly adjacent to the planned Route 38 and bypass redevelopment area where there are going to be two new warehouses built very soon. Now, I don't know about you, but if I lived in Ingleside Avenue area or Franklin Estates or Davenport Village or that end of Marne Highway or Deacon Road, I would be a little bit upset that my residential area had turned into Warehouse Corner. And I think maybe we should be better publicizing that this development zone is just so large and will contain 3 warehouses. Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up.
Deborah Harris, 7 Elsinore Drive. So I'd like to make a comment about the warehouse development in Hainesport Township, and I try to be fairly thoughtful and somewhat prepared about my comments because professionally, I speak to a lot of senior leadership, and I think it's important to, give good suggestions and recommendations. So when I come up here and make those, there are things that I would like to hear. If I was in a position where I was managing risk, considering liability, and considering the overall impacts to a town. So I've gotten out and about a lot lately, and I've heard from a lot of Hainesport residents who, like myself, are deeply upset and concerned with the approach that the committee has taken. We've permitted here at least 4 huge warehouses, very large, 15,000 plus square foot buildings. And a huge warehouse building development project it's not some benign use of land, right? There's a significant impact on health, safety, air quality, noise, and traffic, just to name a few. And Hainesport residents are not alone in their concerns. In fact, so many residents across New Jersey, because New Jersey is an ideal location in the Northeast for this new wave of commerce that we have. We all buy a lot online, and there needs to be some type of logistics to move the goods that we're constantly ordering. So New Jersey is a very popular place for warehouses, so much so that the New Jersey State Planning Commission, they have developed warehouse siting guidance. Some of it states that many towns in New Jersey are finding that their communities are particularly vulnerable to poorly sited and scaled warehousing projects. Large areas of their community, particularly farmland and rural areas, for broadly applied light industrial uses without consideration or limitation on the size and intensity of today's distribution warehouses. As a result, many land use plans and zoning ordinances may be inadequate in their present form to address the pace and scale of new warehousing proposals and their impacts on neighborhoods, local roads, adjacent communities, and finite resources. Indeed, much of the current outcry from residents in municipalities reviewing and approving warehouse proposals that they are unhappy with are cases where the projects largely conform to local zoning standards. And I think that's the case here for at least 4 of our buildings. The guidance goes on to state that it's never been more important that municipalities update and refine their planning, zoning, and development regulations to differentiate among warehouse use types. So before proceeding any further with warehouse development projects.
Are you lecturing us, or are you making a comment?
Excuse me, I'm
Are
making
you,
a comment.
okay, keep it to 5 minutes, okay? Because the lecturing part, I don't think the committee
I don't need to be
appreciates.
reprimanded by
5
you,
minutes.
I'm making my comment.
5
So
minutes.
my comment is that this township
Make a
commit
comment. Okay.
to ensuring greater community engagement.
Thank you.
The
Next comment.
guidelines contain several excellent suggestions, like posting information on your town's website clearly, including easily consumable project descriptions, maps, drawings, and information, by creating a community advisory board and actually listening and incorporating the residents' feedback. Begin conducting a thorough review, examination, and analysis of the State Planning Commission's warehouse siting guidance, and begin conducting a master plan, re-examining and incorporating the guidelines. Thank you for your kind attention.
Anybody else?
We do have one person online. I don't know if they would like to provide public comment. Nothing?
Okay,
Can I make a comment?
not yet. Not yet. We have our turn. So we're going to have, I'm going to end comments by the public and comments from our administrator.
Just wanted to let the committee know I received notification from DOT that there's going to be some road work done on Route 38. They are replacing the guide rails, and I believe it's from Lumberton Road to the Mount Laurel line. I'm not 100% certain as to how far into Hainesport it goes, but it's definitely from Mount Laurel into Hainesport, and that's going to commence October 17th. So there will be some lane closures during that time, and again, it's upgrading the guide rail systems at various locations. Barrier curb, vertical curb, and sidewalk improvements will be made to effectively manage stormwater and shape transition areas at bridge approach locations. So just wanted to let the community also know to be prepared for that. Also wanted to let the governing body know we did receive some COVID funding through FEMA. We did not have a lot of expenses as a result of the COVID, but we did receive $4,200 this month for just reimbursement for some of our expenses. And that's it. Thank you.
Comments from the solicitor?
If I could just comment, I have read the DCA's guidelines on warehouses. I'm not aware of anything that Hainesport has done that contravenes any of those guidelines. To the extent that the suggestion is made that the township needs to be more communicative about the warehouses, particularly the 4, quote, very large warehouses approved, keep in mind that each one of those is the result of a redevelopment plan. So in terms of communicating with the public, that process begins with a resolution adopted by the governing body in a public meeting, much like the resolutions that were adopted this evening. And that resolution refers the matter to the planning board to conduct an investigation as to whether the area in question, the site, is an area in need of rehabilitation, an area in need of redevelopment, and then there's 2 subcategories, an area in need of non-condemnation redevelopment or an area in need of condemnation redevelopment. Every one of these has been an area in need of non-condemnation redevelopment. We've never have not done a condemnation redevelopment to my knowledge. So that goes to the planning board. The planning board, on notice to the public, schedules a hearing on whether or not it should qualify, whether the criteria under the statute, the local housing and redevelopment law, are met. The public is invited to that hearing. The planning board generally gets a report from Scott Taylor, the planner, and Scott outlines the statutory criteria and gives guidance as to whether or not the statutory criteria are met or not met. And if they are met, which ones are met, because there's a number of them. The planning board, following the conclusion of that hearing, to which the public is invited to comment, then makes a recommendation back to the Township Committee as to whether or not the area does qualify. At a meeting thereafter, at a public meeting thereafter, the Township Committee adopts a resolution if it agrees, and by adopting that resolution in public, it declares the area to be in need of either rehabilitation, non-condemnation redevelopment, whatever. And then the committee starts the process of preparing a redevelopment plan for that area. And the redevelopment plan is done through public hearings. It's an ordinance. It's introduced at a public meeting. Notice of that public hearing that ensues from the introduction is made, and the public is invited to comment on the ordinance. And at the end of the day, in these 4 cases, the ordinance was adopted by the governing body. So in terms of communication, I think I just outlined 5 separate public meetings, maybe 6, where the public is invited to participate, to comment, and certainly knows about it.
And John, if I may, there a certain time frame has to elapse between each one of those announcements, correct?
Yeah.
That's by state law.
Yeah, the hearing in front of the planning board as to whether the area qualifies is preceded by at least, I think, 10 days' notice. The hearing on the ordinances is always at least 2 weeks apart, or no, in this town, a month apart, because you only meet once a month, right? So there's plenty of time to review the redevelopment plan, which is also on file. It's on the website as part of the record before the governing body. So appreciate the pointing out that the DCA has adopted guidelines. I'm attending a meeting hosted by the Office of Planning Advocacy of the DCA on Friday about warehouses. I'll report back to you. And, you know, if there are any inconsistencies between the things that that Hanesport's done and what's recommended, I'll certainly let you know. But having read the guidelines, as I sit here, and I didn't know it was coming up tonight, but as I sit here, I remember having read them in conjunction with, is there anything that we did or didn't do here? And I cannot recall anything that was contrary to the guidelines. That's all I have. Thank you.
Bruce?
Okay, so I think it was Thomas Jefferson who said that the price of democracy is eternal vigilance. The whole purpose of this building and this room and the crowd here, the residents having an opportunity to attend, is not just the way we do government, it is the purpose of our government. Now, we make many announcements to our public in a variety of ways to try and get our residents here so they have input into the decision-making process that this Township Committee does. Paula, what are the various ways that we try to reach out to our town?
Well, despite the fact that we no longer need to provide a remote platform for our community to be engaged, we continue to do that. So we have the YouTube Live that's offered for our meetings, as well as for the Joint Land Use Board, as well as the GoToMeeting platform, as well as our minutes. So that's just engaging in the governance, as well as our regular in-person meetings, which never stopped. We also rolled out the mobile app, which is a new avenue of communicating with the residents, also connecting our business community to the government. We have our website, which we update on a regular basis, and I mentioned that all of our redevelopment plans are located on that website. I'm trying to think what else. We have our bulletin boards in the municipal building. We have our kiosk boards out in the park that we often utilize. We have our marquee in the front of the building. Sometimes we put signs up throughout the community as well.
Okay, so eternal vigilance is, for Hainesport, a pretty simple thing. basically all we have to do is tune into one of those varieties of potential meeting scheduling opportunities and show up for the things that matter to us. For the most part, I see two people here where some of these things we discussed today that it really matters to. We'd like to see more so that we can make good decisions, taking into consideration our residents. We, as a committee, can only make the best decisions if, number one, we understand the law and we're charged by the state of New Jersey to execute the law and not deviate from that. And of course, we need the residents, and we want their input. And of course, the Township Committee has to make a decision on those things. But we can't make good decisions if we don't have all the facts on hand. And all the facts on hand means participation. Without participation, we do the best we can do. So that's that's pretty much what I wanted to say. We need to participate as a community, otherwise we're going to make the best decisions that we can make given the facts on hand that we have to make them with, and that's my comment for now.
Thank you, Bruce. Leland?
Well, I wanted to thank everyone for attending tonight's meeting and make a statement that I feel is necessary, and that's to let everyone know that I am extremely proud to be part of this committee and all it has been accomplished since I was first elected. Everything from hiring our current township administrator, which is the best thing I ever did, to being debt-free by the end of this year, and yet we were still able to fund the school gym floor. I encourage everyone to download the Hainesport Township app for information on upcoming events, business listings, and special offers. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is this month, and I would like to encourage everybody to please take care of yourselves. Happy Halloween.
So, it's apparent that the warehouses have become a political issue in town. When I was a young man, I had the opportunity to start doing business with Home Depot. They had 4 stores in Atlanta, and they wanted to move up here in the late 80s. And I literally watched Home Depot decimate all the hardware, lumber, plumbing supply business on Long Island, okay? And everybody couldn't believe it. And there was one simple answer: don't shop there. If you're upset about it, and all these Home Depots that literally put these mom and dad and that we're not going to get into those reasons why that happened, but you know, when you support something, it's going to grow. Amazon last mile distribution is today and it's the future. And if you don't like it, don't shop there. And maybe they won't want to build and they won't want to rent. Now, I, for one, am very proud, and it wasn't my idea, about the project behind Nissan. We're dealing with 2 other polluted sites in town that, thank goodness, because of the acumen of our administrators, we haven't had to pay to remediate those sites. But again, the HITCO we brought up tonight, at least 20 years and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. This site where, behind Nissan, is a polluted mess. These people are spending between $3 and $6 million to mediate it, okay? And I'm proud to be a part of the decision-making process. And there's 2 things being built today: affordable or apartments and warehouses. I was part of a situation where Home Depot was going to go next to Lowe's. I didn't hear one peep out of the Democrats and the audience attendees about the Home Depot. Well, folks, that Home Depot would have generated, and I'm not a traffic expert, so don't quote me, but I have eyes, would have generated a whole lot more traffic than the warehouse that we have there now, okay? So I don't know where the traffic thing goes. Maybe you don't like the way it looks. Maybe you don't like the way, I don't know what the problem is, but everything that comes up just doesn't have any merit. So I'm not a big fan of warehouses either, okay? And the municipality is really trying to mitigate where they go. But these property owners have a right to develop their properties. Getting into elongated lawsuits, these folks have a load of money, a lot more than we're willing to spend. Because again, thanks for Leland, we are going to be debt-free in 2 months here. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for a couple of these warehouses that are going to go in. I don't like some of them, but again, they're there. And you know, when you don't show up to meetings and all of a sudden something goes up, a building somewhere, you feel like you got snookered, okay? Well, show up. Show up to the meetings, like Bruce said. You know, we're here every meeting. We just don't show up at committee meetings to make comments for political purposes. And maybe things would be different. But it looks like you're snookered when something goes up and you weren't around when it was being reviewed, like John said. So these things get worked and reworked and worked. And again, I'm not for overburdening the school with school children by building apartments. I want to make it perfectly clear. And I would take a warehouse over a 400-unit apartment complex any day of the week. That's my comment.
Okay, it's no secret, when I ran on commercial development to offset our taxes, and I think it's been very successful. Last year I ran commercial development, which included warehouse. My opponent ran against warehouses. I won the election, so that kind of tells me at least the majority of the people in town supported my view on commercial development and warehousing. I heard tonight environmental issues. Warehouses are more environmental than any other type of building. First of all the drainage has to have oil separation. You don't get that in a parking lot at ShopRite. You have less traffic from a warehouse. For example, I lived here 35 years in my home. I seen CVS warehouse go up in Lumberton. How often do you see a CVS tractor trailer go down the road? I don't see them that often. And some people complained about the warehouse next to Lowe's or ShopRite, how it's not being used. Well, no, it's being used. It just doesn't generate traffic. Warehouses don't generate the traffic. Now, if your last point of use, like Amazon, sure, they do. And I feel bad for the towns like Robbinsville. We'll put them in areas where the roads can't sustain that traffic. We thought about that. Not one township road is being used for these warehouses. They're fully accessible. I don't see a downside to them at all. We don't have to plow. We don't have to do anything. Frankly, they pay our town money, and it's zero impact. And I got to tell you, I won't run from them. I believe in them. I think they do a good job. The fact that the two are going in behind Nissan, if I lived in those developments, I'd be happy that the area is getting cleaned up. I mean, they were in creosote and utility poles there since, who knows, 1960? I mean, it's good that we're cleaning that area up, and now that'll have a blacktop surface with oil separation. It'll be all the discharge from any truck area has to have oil separation on it. So I see a warehouse being environmentally friendly all the way around. If people weren't using warehouses, they'd have to everybody drive to a store, have a store heated, employees drive to the store. I tell you what, I think warehouse is one of the most environmentally friendly things we could do to our area. So I support them, and I would just like to see people make the proper statements, truthful statements. I joined the PTO, and people asked me about the warehouses. I got a chance to talk to them. I'll talk to anybody about them. And you know what they told me? They said, I had no idea about that. They had no idea. They only listened to what they hear on Facebook. Well, mostly everything on Facebook is somebody's opinion. So I'd say do some research. Find out what type of impact they are. I don't see the impact, and we're not going to. I know people are waiting for the impact, but I don't see it. I don't see no impact. So I think it's the most minimum impact of any development you could have. So I support them. But if you have any questions, talk to me. I'll tell you everything. Thank you.
Ken? Thanks, Jerry.
I could probably just say ditto. I will say ditto, but someone owns property and it's polluted. Who's going to buy that property from them? It's polluted. What we could do as residents is we could buy the property. It could be you could get a committee together and everyone could chip in, and how much did that property, one of those property? We would need a few $1 million. It would take a lot. But that is something that could be done. If you don't like what someone is doing with the property that they own, you could buy it. God bless you. If we're debt-free by the end of this year, I wish we had millions of dollars that we could buy property and we could clean it up and for these polluted sites and plant trees and do these things. Now, if we did that, we would not collect fees from development. We would not collect tax dollars. It would be a wooded area that would not pay anything. And candidly, I'm an old Boy Scout. I love nature. I love those things. But we don't own the property. Somebody owns the property. They've come to us and they said, this is polluted. We'd like to do something with it. Great. So we label it a redevelopment zone to be able to help them to sell the property and clean it up. So if you are living by a polluted area and you're going to buy property near a polluted area, their homes aren't going to go in a polluted area. The trees can't go in a polluted area. It needs to be redeveloped. So the homes that are nearby were built when those zones were zoned accordingly. They weren't homes and apartments and wooded areas in those areas that were mentioned previously. So it's real easy to stand up and say, we weren't notified and they need to do this and what's the master plan and you need to redo this. Well, it's real easy to say this in one meeting, but if you came to all these meetings and you stood up and said all these things, it would be a little different story. The school floor that we had funded did not come from taxpayer dollars. It came from fees from the warehouse. We were able to support our community, our school, our children by fees that were collected from that, not taxpayer dollars. So another benefit from that. I'm wearing my pink cancer awareness tie. Unfortunately, like myself, like many of you, have had family members and friends who have suffered from this and are suffering from this. So my prayers go out to all of them, and want to wish all the kiddies a happy Halloween, and happy Veterans Day coming up. I think our meeting is going to be probably right around that time, right? So I'll leave it right before. Okay, very good. So,
Well, the Veterans Day, the luncheon is the 7th.
yes, there you go. Thank you. The Veterans Day luncheon is the 7th of November.
On the
Don't
app.
forget to vote.
And also, Tuesday in November is Election Day, the general election, so please exercise your democratic right and vote. Thank you.
So Paula,
Yes, sir.
I'm always first with the comment. Can I be last with a comment?
It's Bruce's.
It's good and bad. It's good and bad. It's good and
Before you.
If you want to say something else, go at it. What would you like to say?
Okay, very good. The following is one man's humble observation and comment. Non sibi sed omnibus, Latin for not for oneself, but for all. We're all well aware this November we will be voting for 2 people to fill committee seats. I'll say again, non-civi said omnibus, not for oneself, but for all. As you know, Hainesport, with the help of volunteers, puts on events throughout the year that are well-attended and obviously enjoyed by our residents. There is a standing request for volunteers for these events. I've even mentioned it here, requesting volunteers. The request for people to help organize them, set them up, manage them while taking place, and then for cleanup afterwards is found on our website. And again, I personally asked for volunteers in this venue, in which certain people are in regular attendance. Now, at these volunteer events, certain people are in regular attendance, and some people are not. So following is a list of events Hainesport puts on, and request for volunteers, and we request for volunteers for people. And I'm sorry if I miss any of these. So let's just run down some of the events. We have Memorial Day, Christmas tree lighting. That includes a train ride, dance demonstrations, concession with cookies and hot chocolate. And keep in mind, all these extraneous type of events that take place, they all need volunteers. So there's a food truck event and car show, Easter egg hunt event with the Easter Bunny, Mayor's Wellness Program to get people out of the house, Hainesport Day with booths and hospital attendance, jumping gym, butterfly release, and more. These all take people. Concerts in the park. Halloween house decorating event and judging, gingerbread contest, bus trip, Veterans Day appreciation and luncheon, first responders ice cream social, and in the past, first responders dinner. Fall festival and scarecrow contest, and it was a lot of fun. Movies in the park, live bands, and trunk or treat. Honor tree dedication for state police, fire department, and EMS personnel. Of course, there's probably some that I've forgotten. So non-civi said omnibus, not for oneself, but for all. Now at these events, I always look to see who cares, not for oneself, but for all, enough to volunteer help. Among others, I see Bruce McLaughlin and Leela Gilmore, living by not for oneself, but for all. Conspicuously absent and not involved in these events that improve the quality of life for every resident in Hainesport, regardless of party, is their opposition, Anna Evans and Deborah Harris. They have never, I repeat, never volunteered for any Hainesport event unless they can occupy a booth and or market their party, which leads me to believe these potential public servants are not for all, but for oneself. In this man's opinion, those not willing to serve all will not make for good public servants. That's just one man's opinion.
Now, public comments over. I've had enough. Okay. Well, everybody got their chance. I give public comment.
All right, let's
3
move
times.
on.
Stop.
We need to pay some bills now, do
Yeah,
we?
yeah. We're gonna move on with the meeting. So,
That's one event. Did you see the list?
Bruce, don't waste.
And you should not be using oppositional desires to politicize this.
Well, this is one man's observation.
You are breaking the law.
I am.
okay.
Am I breaking the law?
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
That's the election law.
So I just wanted to add one more thing. John, how much COLA money, I mean, we're all advocates for helping the disadvantaged, and not going to say poor, but affordable homes. How much in your quick,
Just the four warehouses?
Yeah, in COLA money?
Over 2 million.
$2 million. And I'm not saying this for the benefit of this audience,
Right.
but maybe some people are listening. And we've already allocated a lot of money to fulfill our affordable housing obligation. And I would have to give you, John, kudos in an orderly fashion, unlike what we see going on in Mount Laurel. That's anarchy over there. And I don't know what's going to happen to their school. But I'm not going to do that to our school. And we all love our school, irregardless of political party here. That school is a gem. And I'm not going to, I don't want to see that school. I don't think anybody in town wants to see that school go crazy. So $2 million in COLA money, which we contribute to affordable housing
And it's
in
not
the town.
taxpayer money, it's purely developer fee.
Right, and they have to pay, what, 1.5 to 2% of the assessed value?
2.5%? 2.5%.
2.5. So, that's good for all of us. That's not, irregardless, of what we necessarily believe in, we're really fulfilling our fair share, housing, obligation. And these warehouses are funding it. These couple warehouses that we're doing. So with that, I will ask if that we can pay the bill.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes. Any executive session tonight? No?
No, sir.
Okay, so, Ken, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Gary?
I'll second that.
7:50.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Levinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes.
What law does she think?
They want to run for committee, but they,